Welcome back to the deep dive. So if you work with large language models, I bet you know this feeling. You have this amazing, really focused session, right? You solve a big problem, crack some tough code, and then the next morning, you open it up and poof. It's like talking to a goldfish. Zero memory, all that great context, just gone. Back to square one. It's frustrating.
Oh, absolutely. It's probably the biggest headache in knowledge work using AI right now. But the sources we've looked at point to a clear path forward. We need to stop just chatting with the model. We need to actually design a proper Claude agent, one that's really context aware, an agent that remembers what was decided, learns as it goes, and stops being that annoying goldfish. More like a partner, really.
Okay, yeah, a partner sounds much better. Let's unpack that. Our mission today is to really dig into the core ideas, the practical steps you actually need, and the kind of strict design rules from this Claude Agent Context Engineering Playbook. The goal is showing you how to build AI with real long-term memory, something that keeps the momentum going.
Exactly. And the fundamental shift here,
Yeah.
it's moving beyond what most people think of. This isn't just prompt engineering, okay? That's, tuning the instructions. Important, but different. This is context engineering. It's a whole other level. It's about actively managing what the agent pays attention to, its limited context window, and crucially, saving its state, its decisions externally. That external part, that's the absolute key to memory. That's the second brain.
Right, that strategic management. Because context is finite, isn't it? It's like a budget. And we know just dumping more tokens in doesn't automatically give better results. Actually, the source warns about something called context rot. What exactly is that?
Yeah, context rot, it's basically, it's when the accuracy just tanks because the input prompt gets too massive.
Yeah.
Think about feeding it a huge document or a really long chat history. All the unimportant stuff starts to statistically kind of brown out the critical signal, the key decision you make, or that one vital piece of data. The agent gets lost, it gets distracted, or just misses the point entirely.
Right.
So to fight that, we need structure. We need signal, not just noise.
And structure is where the agentic loop comes in. That's the core structure for the Claude agent.
That loop is the backbone. Think of the agent like a really methodical project manager, or maybe a careful craftsman. They don't just jump in. Everything is structured. And this agentic loop, it has three main beats, three steps that organize everything it does.
Okay, what are they?
First, gather context. Load only the specific info needed for the current step, nothing extra. Second, take action. This is where it does stuff calls tools, runs code, writes to files, hits an API. And third, verify work. It checks its own output against rules, summarizes what it just did, and plans the very next small step.
Got it. Gather, act, verify. And what actually lets the agent do this loop? How does it touch the real world or remember things? I guess that's the SDK tools.
Exactly. The SDK provides the foundational tools. And the most critical starting point might surprise you. It's actually pretty low tech, file system access.
Just reading and writing files.
Yep. Sounds basic, but it's absolutely essential for building that external memory. Beyond that, you've got things like declarative tools for specific actions, bash access for scripting, and important integrations. Connecting to Slack, GitHub, Google Drive, giving the agent senses and hands, basically.
I noticed compaction was also listed there. Since we're talking about fighting context rot, that sounds pretty important for managing history.
It is, absolutely. But maybe we can circle back to compaction when we talk about scaling things up. For now, let's stick with step one, gather context. The main goal here is setting up that durable memory, that second brain we mentioned. And you do that with a really predictable memory folder structure.
Yeah, the playbook is really specific here. It stresses keeping it boring and predictable. That stood out to me. The layout is super clean. A main project folder, then everything important, everything durable goes into a memory folder inside that. And in memory, there's a central notes.md file, like the main logbook, plus subfolders for specific things, maybe decisions, research, stuff like that.
Right. And it seems almost counterintuitive, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We're talking cutting-edge AI. And we're focused on basic file folders. Why predictability over some complex database?
That's a great point. And the answer in the playbook is just simplicity. Predictability means the agent knows where to look. It doesn't have to guess where the decision log is. It knows its memory notes.md. The rule they give is name files, so both you and the agent can figure out what's inside. Simple.
Okay, so this straightforward structure, how does the agent actually use it?
Through simple helper functions. Things like read notes, append notes, search memory.
Ah, I see. So you give the agent these basic tools to interact with its own structured notes, and that's how it avoids the goldfish problem. It can read its own past work, find evidence, it stops guessing and starts reusing facts. That predictability, That's the fix.
Exactly. So we've got the memory folder set up. Let's move to step 2. Take action. If the memory is just folders and files, what's the absolute first tool you need to build so the agent actually uses it?
The very first essential tool is something like Save a Note to Memory. Its whole job is to write a short, structured note, not just rambling text. It needs a clear title, a quick summary of what just happened, maybe some tags for searching later, and writes it straight into that main memory notes.md. So the action immediately becomes documentation.
Okay, but what happens when tasks get bigger, like analyzing a huge code base or sorting through tons of documents? Even with good notes, the main agent must hit context limits eventually, right?
That's where specialization comes in. That's where you use subagents.
Subagents, so like mini agents.
Exactly. They're focused helpers. You give them a specific job, like analyze this code file or summarize these documents, and crucially, they operate with their own separate context window.
Ah, okay. So the main agent, the orchestrator, is kind of protecting its own focus. The sub-agent dives deep into something specific, uses its own context budget, does the job, and then just returns a small, clean result, keeping the main loop clean.
Precisely that. The orchestrator stays lean, focused on the big picture, planning. While these specialists do the deep dives without polluting the main context, the playbook gives a few examples. A reader agent that just pulls info and gives back a summary. A planner that turns a goal into steps. A builder for writing and checking code. And a critic whose only job is to check outputs against rules.
Which leads perfectly into step 3, verify work. If the tools and subagents are doing the work, this final step is about making sure that knowledge gets locked down, right? Through that structured note-taking loop.
Yes, exactly. The discipline here is key. Every significant interaction, every decision, every completed task, it must end with a short, structured note written to that durable notes.md file. It sounds simple, maybe tedious, but this habit makes the agent so much more reliable. Its thinking process becomes transparent.
And you bake this habit right into the system prompt. You literally tell the agent what to do.
You have to. Tell it explicitly. Always consult memorynotes.md before you plan anything. And just as important, after you finish a task, summarize the key decisions and facts in a note.
That constant read-write cycle keeps the working memory tight, makes decisions explicit.
And makes the agent predictable because it documents what it did and, crucially, why. That's the core of long-term memory, the why.
Okay, makes sense. Now, scaling. What happens when notes.md gets huge? When the project grows beyond simple notes?
Right, that's where the more advanced techniques come in. And this brings us back to compaction. Compaction isn't about deleting history entirely. It's about summarizing. You take the older back-and-forth chats, the raw tool outputs maybe, and condense them down. You preserve the original intent, the final decisions, and any loose ends or open questions. The key discipline. Keep the noisy, raw stuff out of the main history. Keep only concise, precise summaries in.
And for finding stuff in that potentially huge memory folder, simple file searching might not cut it anymore.
It might get slow or brittle.
Yeah.
That's where hybrid retrieval comes in. You combine the simple file search, which is great for exact names, logs, structured notes, with a vector index. The vector index gives you that fuzzy conceptual search, finding similar ideas even if the wording isn't exact. But the absolute rule for both methods, the agent must cite the source file path for everything it retrieves. No exceptions. Traceability is paramount.
Okay, this all sounds like it requires real discipline, like operational hygiene. The playbook calls it the boring discipline needed to keep agents from drifting or going off the rails. It gives some solid rules here.
Yeah, the first one is critical for reliability.
Yeah.
Define rules that can fail. Don't just hope the output is okay. Give it a contract. Like if it's writing a report, assert that specific sections must be present. If it's getting data, validate the schema. And if a rule fails, the agent has to fix it or throw a clear error. No silent failure is allowed.
Makes sense. And the second rule, prefer code for precision.
A classic engineering principle, really. If the task involves logic or generating config or transforming data, ask the model to write code for it. Python, Bash, whatever. Code is testable, it's repeatable, it's way less ambiguous than just describing something in natural language.
Good point. And the last one is about managing complexity. Keep tools minimal.
Right. Every tool you add increases the chance the LLM gets confused about which one to use or how to use it. So merge tools that do similar things, name them really clearly, so clear that, a new team member or the model itself can easily guess what it does and what it needs.
So if we zoom out, these operational rules, the agentic loop, the memory structure, it all seems guided by some core design principles, principles that emphasize focus and, well, saving context.
That's exactly it. They all push towards using fewer tokens more effectively. Like bias to fewer tokens always ask, does this piece of context actually help the next action? Prefer names over narratives, predictable file paths. Timestamps are better than long, descriptive sentences. Keep notes short, aim for one-page notes. And keep plans short, like 5 steps max before the agent pauses, verifies, and plans the next chunk.
Wow, okay. So putting it all together, what's the big payoff for you, the listener, trying to build AI that actually works long term?
It sounds like the shift is from this scattered, forgetful thing
Yeah.
to a genuinely dependable agent, one that keeps track of intent across sessions. It freezes decisions into clear notes, and then it spends its precious context budget on the next step, not just rehashing the past. Exactly. And the mindset shift needed. The playbook uses these great analogies. You have to treat context like RAM, something volatile you need to actively manage. Treat the notes, the memory folder, like non-volatile, or the durable stuff you carefully curate. Yeah. Treat your tools like APIs. They need clear contracts. And treat verification like unit tests they have to fail loudly and clearly when something's wrong.
That's the blueprint then. Building AI with real memory, remembering the what, the why, and the what next. And what I really like is that the advice isn't go build some giant complex system tomorrow. It's start small, a folder, a simple note-saving tool, that 3-beat loop, gather, act, verify.
So the final thought for you to chew on is this. If your goal is to have momentum tomorrow, what's one small testable habit or rule you could implement today? What's the one simple note your agent needs to write right now to guarantee that tomorrow you're not starting from absolute zero again? That's where the real power starts.